Such great virtue, because Allah loves these places the most. Allah loves these places the most. And why should Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala not love these places the most, when these places once constructed, once defined for masjid, the land once defined for masjid, the only activity you can carry out in that boundary is the remembrance of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. You can perform salat because it is remembrance of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. You can talk about Allah because it is remembrance of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. You can call people towards Allah because it is remembrance of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. You can teach Quran, you can teach Hadith, you can teach fiqh, you can teach Sharia because it is remembrance of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. You can read the Quran, you can do dhikr, you can read tasbih, you can sit in i'tikaf because it is remembrance of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Innama buniyatil masajidu li dhikrillah. Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam has said, the masajid are constructed only for the remembrance of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That means, once defined in these places, until the day of Qiyamah, a person is not able to do anything besides the remembrance of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So when a place is allocated only for the remembrance of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, why should this place not become the most beloved to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam has said in a hadith that when a person sits on a portion of the earth, here we are not talking about the masajid, any portion of the earth, in his home, in the park, on the road, anywhere. When a person sits on the portion of the earth remembering Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, then that portion of the earth shines for the malaika just as the stars shine for the people of the earth in a dark night. That place where Allah is remembered once only. In the park there is a portion where from the time Allah has created, for example, that portion of the earth, nobody has remembered Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. A person sits in that portion of the earth and he says, Allah. He says, La ilaha illallah. He says, Subhanallah. And after his zikr, nobody else will remember Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala on that place. For example, that portion of the earth is so precious to the people of the heavens and to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam says that when the zikr is taking place on that portion of the earth, it shines. And to the malaika, everything on this earth is dark except for those places where Allah is remembered. So those places stand out, they shine. Hadhrat Mawlana As'adullah Sahib, Nawwarallahu marqadahu, Khalifa of Hadhrat Hakimul Ummat Mawlana Ashraf Ali Thanvi rahmatullahi alayhi, was a great poet also. He says in one couplet, Rashk karta hai falak, aisi zami par As'ad. O As'ad, the heavens, despite all their highness, envies that portion of the earth where Allah is remembered. The heavens envy that portion, the heavens feel that we wish this portion was here in the heavens. That portion becomes so important, so valuable. Rashk karta hai falak aisi zami par as'ad, jis pe do char ghadi zikre khuda hota hai. That portion of the earth where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is remembered for a few moments, that portion is envied by the heavens. And now, alhamdulillah, after the opening of the masjid, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has granted you this ni'mat, this favor, this bounty, that you are able to put yourself, sit yourself in the place which is most beloved to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala whenever you want, for as long as you want. You don't have to go elsewhere. Isn't this a great favor of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? It is definitely a great favor of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We are immersed and we are drowning in the favors of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Despite all our shortcomings, despite all our disobedience. We think correctly with the mind. We thank Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala with our tongues, and then practically use the masjid and not misuse it. Use the masjid. It is the right of the masjid upon us that we perform 5 times salat regularly with Jamaat. Our shukr will only be complete if we are punctual with our salat. La salata li jari al-masjid illa fil masjid. La salata li jari al-masjid illa fil masjid. If a person who lives next door to the masjid or in the vicinity of the masjid does not come to the masjid to perform salat, he performs his salat in his home, in the confines of his home, then he may not be questioned for that salat, for the performance of the salat, but it will not carry any weight whatsoever on the day of Qiyamah. And if without any shari'i reason he does not come to the masjid to perform salat with Jamaat, then he will be questioned on the day of Qiyamah. Not for salat, but for not performing the salat with Jamaat, because that is also an obligation. There are 2 obligations: performance of salat, and second obligation is to perform salat with Jamaat. According to one opinion of the fuqaha, it is wajib to perform salat with Jamaat, and according to the second opinion of the fuqaha, it is sunnah muakkadah to perform salat with Jamaat. In both cases we will be questioned whether it is sunnah muakkadah or whether it is wajib. So we need to perform salat with Jamaat. We need to make sure that we respect the masjid. We respect the masjid, the 4 walls of the masjid. Once we are in the 4 walls of the masjid, we should sit respectfully. We enter the masjid with our right foot according to the sunnah. We say Bismillah wa salatu wa salamu ala Rasulillah. We say Allahumma aftah li abwab rahmatik. Thereafter we make the niyyat of i'tikaf. Nawaitul i'tikaf ma dumtu fil masjid. I am in i'tikaf for as long as I am in the masjid. So you are performing salat, at the same time you are getting reward for i'tikaf also. You are reading Quran, at the same time you are getting reward for i'tikaf also. For as long as I am in the masjid, I am in i'tikaf also. After entering the masjid, engage yourself in only those activities which can be defined as the remembrance of Allah. Nothing else. You cannot talk about business. You cannot talk about politics. You cannot talk about worldly mundane affairs in the masjid. And you need to behave in such a way that you do not disturb those people who are engaged in ibadah. To the extent that the fuqaha have stated that if a person is performing his salat, then it is not permissible to recite Quran audibly, because that will disturb the person who is performing salat. So if reciting the Quran in a loud tone is not permissible when somebody is engaged in salah, how is it permissible for us to talk about other affairs in the masjid? Let us assess ourselves, my friends. Let us assess ourselves. It hurts a lot to see the musallis in the masajid making so much noise before the nikah, after the nikah. How many of us, when we come for a nikah, perform tahiyyatul masjid? What is our engagement when we are waiting for 10 minutes before the nikah? We have reached early. You will find 5 people there, 5 people here, 5 people there, 10 people here. After the nikah is over, everybody shaking hands with each other, meeting with each other and making noise. We can always go at the back of the masjid. There is a foyer. There is another foyer on the right hand side. Alhamdulillah, every masjid has this facility. This is the boundary of the masjid. These 4 walls that we are sitting in at the moment. Once we are here, the rules are different. And once you are out of these doors, the rules are different. Let us carry out these etiquettes. When we go to Masaajid, we see in many Masajid, in fact in majority of the Masajid, the Muazzin is calling out the Azan and everybody is busy talking before Maghrib. Everybody is talking. And there is so much virtue for the person who listens to the Azan and who repeats the words of the Azan, thereafter recites Durood Sharif and the Dua after Azan. There is so much reward. All you have to do is sit respectfully and listen to the Azan. And now with the receiver system, it has become easy for even the ladies to reap this reward. All you have to do is, as soon as the Muazzin begins the Azan, everybody become quiet and repeat the words of the Muazzin. So let us carry out the adab of the masjid. We need to come regularly to the masjid. Those people who come on a regular basis to the masjid and who attach themselves to the masjid, that is a sign of iman. إِذَا رَأَيْتُمُ الرَّجُلَ يَعْتَادُ الْمَسَاجِدِ فَاشْهَدُوا لَهُ بِالْإِيمَانِ. When you see a person regularly visiting the masajid, then be witness that he is a mu'min. And Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, due to our necessities, we have to leave the masjid. We have to go to our offices, to our shops, our business, to take care of the family, to go to the hospital, to go to the doctor. We have our necessities. But Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said that when you are out of the masjid, make sure your heart is in the masjid. Your heart should remain attached to the masjid. The feeling should be, when we separate from our wives, our children, what is the feeling? We have separated for our necessity, but the feeling is, when can I go back? When can I go back? When can I go back? That should be the feeling. So Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said that there will be 7 categories of people who will be under the shade of the throne of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala on the day of Qiyamah. One category will be Rajulun qalbuhu mu'allakum bil masajid. That person whose heart will remain in the masjid all the time. His body is outside, but his heart is inside.